Ciri!
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Netflix just dropped The Witcher Season 3 trailer, so we'll break it down. I'll explain what's going on. Obviously, they're splitting the season, and this is meant to be Henry Cavill's last season as Geralt. So I know there's a lot of confusion. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. It's still 8 episodes. They're announcing that the first half of the season, like the first 5 episodes, will release June 29th. Then the last 3 episodes will release a month later, July 27th. They did the same thing with Stranger Things Season 4 last year. Most of the plot is supposed to adapt the Blood of Elves book, but they changed a lot of the plot from the books for Season 2. They'll probably do the same thing for Blood of Elves during Season 3. Also having to change what happens to Geralt to explain how he winds up turning into Liam Hemsworth. Pretty big change. The showrunner said that they would explain what's actually going on with that, because it is pretty crazy. They start with Geralt entering this building, drinking his Witcher potions, and getting ready to draw his sword to fight what seems like another version of Rience. They did recast the Rience character, so I do think the person that he's fighting during the different parts of the trailer is just that recast version of the character. Just because of the way he's burned, they showed the fire behind him, just to let you know that it is probably Rience. In his voiceover, he starts talking about how he's feeling fear, real fear, for the first time. That's because he's actually grown to care about Ciri, like he thinks of her as a surrogate daughter. Usually when fearless characters like Geralt start to feel fear, it's when they grow to care about other people and those other people wind up in danger, about to die. So in his voiceover, Geralt is saying, I get it now, like I understand what it is to be afraid, but he's mostly afraid for other people like Ciri. There's a scene of Ciri riding away from Eredin in the Wild Hunt, who are on the main planet now. It seems like they found a way to cross over, but you see the billowy smoke behind them, so I think this is just a version of them doing the story from the games and the books. The whole idea is that the Wild Hunt is stuck on that other planet, but they find ways occasionally to make it to the main planet. All these black clouds, all the armor, this fearsome look, their voices, it's all smoke and mirrors. We actually got some of Eredin's backstory during The Witcher Blood Origin. I'll link my videos for that because the series was kind of raw, like people were not big fans of the series. But they did explain what their TV show version of Eredin's backstory was. Obviously some changes from the books for that as well too. Because in the books, they don't really get too much into his backstory, so it was them sort of filling in a lot of gaps with the TV show. This is a new scene of Rience walking out of what seems like a room that he's set on fire. It also kind of seems like he's holding a little cat here. Jaskier with what seems like a sorceress that also seems like she wants to kill him. Ciri seemingly killing someone, and then Geralt versus Rience. I can't totally tell who Yennefer is fighting in this scene here. Those might be elves behind her. Then they have this larger scene of Ciri stuck in this giant hedge maze by herself, separated from Geralt and Yennefer, calling for them. It seems like she faces another giant monster on her own. Her power might get out of control again. One of the bigger changes during Season 2 was Yennefer trying to kill Ciri to get her powers back. They did say that their way of walking that back of Yennefer trying to mend her relationship with Geralt, because Geralt isn't a huge fan of hers right now, was them doing the Dear Friend letters from the books, which is them basically writing to each other and slowly repairing their relationship and her talking to him through those letters. And it seems like the White Frost villain, at least the way they changed things during the Blood Origin series, is manipulating everyone, like even manipulating Eredin the Wild Hunt, because they want more chaos magic. Like the whole idea is they just absorb magic from other powerful beings. And I think part of the idea is that the arid world, this other world that Eredin is stranded on, used to be green and lush, but this other person absorbed all the power there and turned it into an arid world. And now she's going to come to the main world and do the same thing to it. And that's going to be the fulfillment of Ithleen's ultimate prophecy, the prophecy about her defeating the White Frost that you see in the books and the games, which is where we get to a bunch of our changes. I think part of the idea is that they wanted Ciri to have a fight at the end of the show, like whatever the final season is, with the White Frost defeating it, but her fighting an actual person instead of just like fighting a giant white cloud of winter. Because in the books and the games, the way they personify the White Frost is more like a force of nature, like there's no actual consciousness to it. The way the TV show is setting it up, it might wind up being an actual person who's just another time traveler pretending to be someone else. Like, why does the White Frost speak with a Scottish accent in the exact same language that Eredin and all the other elven characters can understand if it's not another elven character from their race that's been time traveling? But in that Witcher Season 3 post-credit scene, Avallac'h uses the Book of Monoliths that he's stolen from Baelor to time travel back to the events of Season 1 on the main show before Ciri had met Geralt, before Emperor Mir had shown up, her father sacked Sintra in a bid to try and recapture her. So Avallac'h isn't meant to be really evil the same way that a lot of the other characters seem like they're evil, like Emperor Mir, the White Frost villain, Eredin, the Wild Hunt. But to be fair, there is no real main villain on The Witcher. Like, the White Frost is technically meant to be like the biggest villain, but everyone on the show is meant to be low grade, kind of a terrible person. So it's like a bunch of terrible people trying to do what they think is right, all going up against each other with differing opinions on things. So you have Ciri stuck in the middle. She's this ultra powerful being who isn't totally capable of defending herself yet. Geralt, who's trying to help her survive, and then all these other factions that just want her for their own reasons. Avallac'h, for example, is one of those different factions. Her father, Emperor Mir, wants to use her power to help conquer the rest of the continent because he's been doing that for the past couple of years in the background of the show, like he's slowly been conquering all the other realms. Vilgefortz, who's also one of the antagonists, wants her power to have another child to fulfill this big prophecy that will give birth to an even more powerful child that he can control. Eredin and the Wild Hunt want her so that they can open as many gates as they want between worlds, conquering them across time and space, because he's basically stranded on this other arid world and they need her power to open the gates again so that he can travel between worlds. There are space unicorns in the universe of The Witcher that can open gates the way that Ciri does, but Eredin across time, across the hundreds and hundreds of years up to present day, has wound up killing all them off, using them to travel between worlds. So that's why he needs Ciri now, because there are no more space unicorns for him to kill. We'll see how the show addresses that. Avallac'h also wants Ciri, but his stance on her changes throughout his story. Like, he seems like kind of an antagonist later on, but he actually winds up helping her defeat the White Frost. Where we see him here staring at her, he's at the beginning of his story. He's a little more naive about things. You have to imagine a couple hundred years later, he'll be a little bit more bitter about all this stuff. The Witcher Season 3 Episode 1 is titled Sherwood. It's an ancient elven palace in this area of forest that's sacred to the elves that was this big fortress to them about 200 years ago before it was destroyed by humans. It means that during Episode 1, Geralt and Ciri are going to be riding through it like they were in the Blood of Elves book. And Blood of Elves is the book that they're largely adapting for the story of Season 3. Like I said, with some changes. The title Blood of Elves is also a reference to Ciri's elder blood because it is elven blood. It started with the elves. She's part elf. The title is also a reference to the dying of the elves, the fate of the elves, losing their battle, fighting with Emperor Mir, the other humans in the continent. They're slowly dying out, and that was part of the Jaskier and the mini driver scenes during Blood Origin. She said that she wanted him to recite the Tale of the Seven, the origin of the Elder Blood, the Wild Hunt, the White Frost, the Order of Witchers, in order to inspire the elves. And within the elves, you have a group of them that wants to live peacefully and leave the humans alone and just kind of continue living out their lives, slowly dying out. And then another group of them that's more militant and wants to kill all the humans. When he goes back at the end of Blood Origin is saved from the Temerians, the elves probably eventually take him back to this area near the woods near the Sherwood, which might be where he runs into Geralt again in present day. During Season 3, she's still training to be a Witcher. Not much time has gone by, but she's also been training in her magecraft, learning to use her magic powers through Elder Blood. Like, she started to open gates at the end of Season 2. She'll continue to learn more about that, which is where I think we get to the idea of her using the gates to time travel. We'll learn more about Vilgefortz working with Emperor Mir, even though both of them have their own agendas for wanting Ciri. But the real big thing that everybody is talking about mostly is Henry Cavill leaving as Geralt. Like, why is he leaving the show? Why did he quit The Witcher? There were a lot of people claiming all kinds of crazy things were happening behind the scenes. Without the showrunner confirming any of this, it sounds like what happened is that there were some creative differences, and Henry Cavill isn't a producer on the show, like he's just an actor for hire, just like a hired gun. He's incredibly highly paid, and it's harder for him to do movies while he's doing The Witcher. Like, it actually takes them a good long while to film Witcher seasons, even though it's only 8 episodes. So it sounded like a confluence of events where he wanted to do other projects, like he wanted to do other movies, like he just announced that he's doing the Warhammer series. I did a big trailer video for that because he released a teaser trailer, so I'll post a link for that at the end of this. Where he'll be the executive producer, he'll have much more of a say in what's actually happening during the series and the Warhammer movies that they're developing. And he's always gone on about how precious he is about The Witcher, like he's a huge fan of The Witcher books. And it sounds like there were some disagreements behind the scenes about some of the changes they were making with the show, with the Geralt character. And since he's not a producer on The Witcher show, basically he has to do whatever the producers say, the writers say. And since the further the series goes on, the more and more Netflix has to pay him, he probably just started asking for more and more money that they did not want to pay him. So that's probably why they agreed to part ways. Like, okay, I have other projects that I can actually do whatever I want to with, like they'll be my own projects, and I can earn way more money. And I'll have a little more control over his time so he can actually do other projects as well too. Like, he won't be locked down to the Witcher schedule. As crazy as it all sounds, usually that's why stars as big as him wind up leaving shows like this, even though it seems like he could have gone on for many more seasons, and he'd said that he was willing to go on for many more seasons. Usually just comes down to time, money, and control over what's happening with your character. But the way the show is going, it sounds like they plan to do season 4 with Liam Hemsworth. Like they already announced Liam Hemsworth was taking over in season 4 for the Geralt character. In season 5, depending on how season 4 goes, will probably wind up being their last season. Like they'll probably wrap it up by season 5. When they release more trailer footage, the showrunner starts talking more about what was actually going on behind the scenes with Henry Cavill. Of course, I'll do more videos about that. Everyone click here for that brand new Henry Cavill Warhammer trailer video. Really excited to see what he does with that series. And everyone click here for that brand new Flash trailer video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.